Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Built to Exit with me, your humble host, Jason Sisneros. And you are in for an incredible conversation today. You're going to learn a lot. We're going to focus in around home services businesses today. But I want to introduce you right off the bat to a very, very good friend of mine. We were just talking pre-show about how long we've known each other. And I'm not sure either one of us wants to admit it, but it's probably been a couple decades at this point. Right. But so welcome to the show, Jarod Adreon, my good friend. Happy to have you. As I was saying earlier, I wanted this episode to be really helpful to people in the home services area. And when I started thinking about who's the best that I know in this space, your name was the only one that came to mind. So welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself and give everybody a little of your background?
Okay. I thought you were going to say I was number 8 on the list, and I
Well, I would not say that in public, brother. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's later. It's another conversation. I've been kind of I've had a fun life. So I started out, I grew up in sales. My father was a salesman. I remember him screaming at us about something and then getting on the phone and changing a personality completely. So it was really wild to watch, but I really enjoyed watching him get excited about selling something. And I literally, it's a wild roller coaster. I also saw him being really poor in management of his business and doing a very, doing kind of a balancing act in being home a lot and then managing his business and not, being up till 3 o'clock in the morning working and then not managing his life that well. So it was very difficult to watch. But it was also, he got so excited when a deal was around the corner, when he could see it happening. So I don't know, I got addicted to it too. When I was younger, I started, working in restaurants and talking to people a lot. I got his same personality where I just really enjoyed people. And I really do. I enjoy talking to people, and I think I enjoy talking, which is the problem.
I've never known that about you, bro. I've never known that about you.
I don't. It's but
we have bets sometimes. When Joe or I are on the phone with you, we have bets sometimes. We're like, all right, we'll drink when he stops talking, right?
You'll be sober.
We don't drink much. We don't drink much.
Right. It'll be a little tiny bit. I really did, though. I grew up really enjoying and watching the entertainment from it. And then, unfortunately, seeing my father go through a business that crumbled as well. So when I was 18 years old, everything came falling down. It had been happening for years, but because of the way he managed his business and because of the way that he didn't really understand business, he didn't have a formal education. I didn't either, but I learned from his mistakes, I think, which was the benefit is he kind of quit. And it became my mantra that I don't quit anything. Like I go at something, and until I finish it, I'm in it. And I think that's a real testament in business. Whenever you go into something, you're there till the end. And so the decisions you make along the way really make or break you. But watching my father suffer through being in debt and then the roller coaster. And I always tell people when they get into sales, I said, you're going to get on a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's a financial roller coaster. It's a lot of unknowns. It can be the best thing and the worst thing because you can make more money than you've ever made and then lose it all the next day. And it is so challenging to know which one's going to happen because when you're at a high, you're doing things, you're rewarding yourself for the work that you put in. And sometimes people reward themselves too much. My father was a perfect example. He'd go out and buy us brand new stuff right after he made a deal. We'd have great Christmas. Everybody's getting stuff. And then we'd end up at the pawn shop middle of the year. And so I hated that. That's the one thing I hated about sales. It's one thing I experienced with sales too first. I learned how to make a lot of money very quickly. By the time I was 24 years old, I started in sales at an investment company, made a lot of money. Then the investment company, the owner died, and then all of a sudden I'm out of a job and starting to work with this partner to rebuild, but then you're broke and you're trying to figure it out. Mortgage was the same thing. I went into the same kind of environment where you're spending to keep up. And a lot of it is when you first get into business, you're learning how to network and make friends and make yourself look more important and repair the time that you don't have with your family and friends because you're working all the time to make the deal. So it's very challenging in the beginning that I found in business. As I grew into it, though, I started to learn I don't want to be in the roller coaster. So how do I prevent that? And so I got into more investing. And I started learning how to be cautious when buying stuff and spending too much. And then the time, too, you kind of learn how to manage that. So I work with brand new guys. I will say this. The environment that I'm in now in the home service industry.
Talk a little bit about it. And while you do that, I want you to tell people, what kind of numbers you're putting on the board these days. And, because it matters. It matters.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of gone all over. I've always been a big producer myself. So when I went into sales, I was always in the top percentage of the company. I worked for one of the largest lenders, and I was number 13 out of 1,500 people.
Yep.
At times, I was always around people that were better than me or that were my equivalent. Like I worked in the best environment, so I had guys that were number 2, number 3, and I was competing with them. So you've got to be in those environments as well to produce numbers. But I've always been able to figure out how to make a deal. And a lot of it is building relationships. I built a lot of relationships. The numbers that I do in home services, it's kind of a buildup. I got really lucky, and I'll say blessed because that's the only way to really say it. I ended up losing everything at one point in my life and being about $200,000 in debt from my mortgage company going under. I had my own brokerage firm that went under. And at the time, everyone went under it in 2009. So I lost everything. We had lost a house, lost a business. Then I ended up $200,000 in debt, $100,000 in tax debt, which was very nice to try and get out of really quickly. Doesn't happen. So I got into roofing because I sold somebody. I sold cars for 3 months. It was kind of a humbling experience, not one that I want to ever do again.
Most people I know, man, that have gone to the bottom and come back up. Car salesman is definitely on the resume.
Yeah, car sales. It's not a bad profession. It's just not mine. It takes a different type of sales individual, I believe. And I have a lot of respect for people that learn their industry and they like it. I just didn't like it, but I sold more than anybody else. I went into it. I just didn't like how it was being treated. But it was also probably my ego. I came from being a very stellar salesman in the financial services to selling cars, which is something I didn't want to do. And so I probably had more of an ego at the time as well. And so I did. I sold with that, and I sold a lot. I sold, 25, 26 cars a month. And one of the people I sold a car to worked at a roofing company, and he told me, man, you should come work at a roofing company. And I said, that's the last thing in the world I'll ever do. I'd already hit bottom, and that sounded like the worst than bottom. And so I didn't, that wasn't on my agenda. And then I quit the car business because I was like, that's just not ever me. And I ended up in a church talking to a pastor that day. And lo and behold, I ended up that same day in the roofing business. And telling my wife, by the way, it was a lot of fun. We weren't married yet. Me and my wife were engaged, but we weren't married, and we were going through our troubles. And I told her I was going to sell roofs over the phone because I'd just gotten an opportunity. And she said, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I said, I don't blame you, but you're not going to believe this. Wait, you're not going to believe it. And she goes, and I was in such good spirits. I said, when I make it work, I promise you we'll be back together. And she goes, who are you? What happened? And it was a different world. All of a sudden I'm in a new world with a new light. And it really, it was like overnight excitement. And I was broker than I've ever been. And within a short period of time, less than 6 months, I'm out of debt. And but it, it wasn't an easy business. I was just showing somebody the other day the work that we had to do back then. It's easier now than it used to be, but it was a lot of work. I probably measured about 500 roofs that year. I sold over $3.5 million that year. No one had ever done that at the company. And then I started teaching people how to do it. And I thought my personality was the reason why I was successful. And so I was trying to replicate me. And I remember the owner saying, "God, I wish we could replicate you." And I go, "God, I wish I could too." I said, "Then I get more done." And I just, I have a really big work ethic. I don't quit working. I work. I bought, the property that I'm sitting at right now. It's a ranch that we bought back in 2020, and this has been 5 years of consistent work. There's a pond that would never get filled that we're doing this week. There's constant work that's being done. It's just work. I love being engaged in projects. I love problems, and I really enjoy the challenge. I really enjoy when things go wrong, kind of, because I can fix them.
Are you a business owner running hard, burning out, and still not getting ahead? I'm Jason Sisneros, founder of Built to Exit. I've bought, built, fixed, exited over 24 companies of my own. I've helped hundreds of business owners do the same. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably didn't start your business to be trapped in it. And yet, here you are, overwhelmed, underpaid, drowning in noise from fake gurus and recycled advice. Been there. Built to Exit isn't just another course. It's not a magic bullet, it's a system, a proven blueprint built from real world experience, not theory. We help owners control the 3 things that really matter in business: price, the timing, and the terms of your exit. Whether that means more cash in your pocket now, more freedom starting today, or a full-blown exit strategy that lets you walk away on your own terms, our team knows how to get you there. So if you're done guessing, done with the excuses, and ready to win, visit builttoexit.biz today to schedule your free 15-minute strategy call with a senior advisor. We'll show you exactly where the leaks are in your business and how to fix them, because everybody exits. How you exit is the only thing that really matters. Builttoexit.biz. We play to win. Do you? So based on what you just said, let's talk a little bit about, when you talk about systemization, because I remember you and I got together. We met in the Tony Robbins world, was where we first became friends and came across each other. And then you had reached out. You had another business opportunity that you brought, the team, my team in, me and Joe, and we were working on that while you were simultaneously doing the roofing. And we started talking about the systemization, right? We started talking about that methodology, and I know you were doing well in roofing at the time, and we were thinking about this other project. Well, that other project got put aside, and you went and implemented everything that we had come up with for that business over into your roofing business. Talk a little bit about how that systemization, what you were doing, and then what that took you to because of learning that sort of built to exit strategy.
So realistically, when I met you again, I met you at Tony, and then we met at another conference that you were at.
Oh, that's right, out in California. Yeah.
We met at that conference again, because you had been with Tony, I had done a year with Tony because I had just lost a lot of money in another business venture. And so that was a lot of fun. And when I met you, and again, these hurdles are a lot of fun, but I met you, I had just done, I started out rebuilding some problems that this company had. I left this company, started another company, made a lot of money, and then I had a business partner embezzle a lot of money from me. And so I was back to starting over again. And I did it coming back to this company that I'm actually currently with right now. They had some issues. We had to rebuild their name. And in the process, I started building out branches. And my first branch we did $6 million the first year. The second year, we did right around $11 million. I was on my third year when we spoke, and I had done, well, no, fourth year. I had done $15 million the third year. And then we had a child, which that happened. And so I had an excuse to do poorly the next year, right? You know, you have a kid and everything changes. But I
Yeah.
did $15 million that year. And I was stressed because I realized I could use the excuse, I just had a kid, or I could find out what I did wrong because it shouldn't have gone backwards. So that year we did 15 million. So anyways, when I met you, when actually we spoke, I was having a difficult year because we did $15 million twice. And I was worried about my longevity if I can't keep sustaining growth. And so you and I talked, and I had already spent a year with Tony, and you know, I'd used all the stuff that I learned in Tony Robbins, and it was all helping me build, and it was great, and building my teams, and I had gotten my team so far, and then we just kind of settled at the same number, and it bothered me. And so when we spoke, we were speaking about some other opportunity that I was looking into working, and I said, you know, I could use your help, because we sat down and we're talking after a conference, and I said I could use your help with understanding what I'm doing wrong. And so you and your team came in for about 3 days, and we started working on some fundamentals that I had an idea of, but I didn't understand how to really how to implement some of it. So it was really great, because the next year we did 18 and a half. The next year after that we did 21 and a half. Then we did 33. We got up to 52. And then we went to 55. So I think what you said made a lot of sense to me, and it worked.
I like it. 15 million to 55 million. But here's
Well,
the thing. But here's what I want to point out about you that's important. The systemization and the sequencing that we worked on, you were already doing well. And you had there's a big word here, and I know it doesn't come across because you're so gregarious sometimes, but it's humility. Like, you asked for help. And that's a big indicator for people in their success, is to say, hey, I don't know everything. I want to take it to the next level. And I think a lot of people in roofing and, you know, home services, it's not as rewarded when we ask for help, right? And so that was one of the big things that I admired about you back then, and still to this day, is not just that you're humble, but you're hungry still to learn, that you're not ever really at the top of your game. You're always looking for that next level. So I wanted to acknowledge you on that, because you can learn all the stuff in the world, not implement it, and it's not going to help a darn thing. So
I appreciate that. In fact, I also appreciate, you know, the advice that you gave and the time that you spent with me to kind of figure out, first of all, what I knew. You know, instead of just going, hey, I got a solution for you, use this. It was a very thorough several days of really digging through the details that we did, and how I hired and how I planned. It was a lot of details in pulling out the information on how I currently was working, instead of just telling me to change. And so what I really, and I'm very thorough with my people the same way. I want to know, first of all, the details before I tell you what are we doing differently. And here's the thing. When I came back, I had just a few set things that were certainty. In my, you know, I had certainty in if I do this, I don't have an answer as to what it's going to return me yet, but I know I got to do this. I know I got to do this. I know I got to do this. One was the day that I took off to spend the 3 or 4 days that we spent together. My office person that I had running my office said, "Oh, I'm taking a vacation since you're going to be gone." And I go, wait, you can't leave. And she goes, "No, you're taking off. I'm taking off too." And that's who I had running my office. My production and all that was based on her making decisions about my business. And that was the first thing. I was freaking out the first day, going, what am I going to do? No one's in my office running the show. I got to tell everybody I don't have. And it was all, you know, I looked into, we talked about spiral dynamics. and talked about the culture, my hiring culture for my people that I work. In fact, my assistant right now, you had an assistant back then, and you were like, I've known her for 7 years. In fact, I knew her 4 years before I had her work for me. And I was like, how'd you do that? And then, funny thing is, my assistant, who I'd missed flying in from PA today, she left me to move to PA because her husband got a job there, and I wouldn't let her leave. And I said, you're my person. You're not leaving. She was hired right after that girl quit. That person quit. I hired her. She became my office person. And then when her husband decided he was going to move to PA, she left. And I said, no, you're my assistant. You're never leaving me. And so she's flying in today to help me on a whole bunch of other stuff. But the dynamic, though, the spiral, what was really cool is you said, you've got to find this type of personality trait. And that wasn't my normal, because I'm a talker. I like people I can get along with. And I thought that was important. This person that I have is ex-military. She didn't talk almost at all in the interview. In fact, she was so boring. I was like, you're perfect. I said, you're perfect because I can't talk to you. It's perfect. It was the exact opposite. And that's the people that I surrounded with people that were thinkers and doers, as opposed to the talkers like me that were money centric. She was more, let me get the job done. I've got a mission. You put me on mission, I'll do it. And I'll find the mission and we'll go on it.
Right.
But I'll be the one that sells it. My office people, though, were selling me on more money, on how much more I was going to work for them at the end of the day, and I care about people.
Right.
So when you care about people, you take care of them. And sometimes you've got the wrong people because the way that they need to be taken care of is not what the business is giving them. And so it's wild. I was getting the wrong people, the wrong color traits. But from that came a lot of testing. I do a ton of testing when I'm going to bring people to different levels. If I'm going to have them oversee things, I got to test them before they get in the hot seat, because I got to see what they do in those situations. So
what do you test them on? Give me a few things. Like what do you test them on? What's important?
Whenever you're raising someone, when you get a new person, they're going to do what they do, right? You're going to give them information and they're going to respect you for the information they get. But then they're going to do stuff in situational experiences that might not be good for you, especially if they're in a role that's overseeing other people. If you've got them in that role and you haven't tested their ability to handle stress, right? So I a lot of times will do things intentionally with my people that I think are going to be amazing, to see how they take it. I even test them on, if I give them feedback in a good way, how do they handle it? If you give me good feedback, I don't like it. Like good, if you tell me, Jarod, you're an amazing person. Man, you're amazing. Can I buy you something? I'll turn away from you because I don't need that.
Right.
It doesn't drive me. I'd rather you just accept the fact that that's what I do for a living, instead of having to do that. I don't need that all the time. It makes me uncomfortable. I'd rather you appreciate it in different ways. So a lot of people are built that way. They might take in information. They might gloat a little too much. If you give them too much, they might, I have a guy right now that's getting ready to be a manager, and he's not mature enough yet. And it's because of his ways that he's given out information, and he's been put in roles so he could give out the information, small roles right now, but he's very bold. And so he'll make a decision without coming through me first. Like, tell me what you're going to do before you do it, because I want to know if there's some other things that you don't know yet. And that takes maturity, and you've got to test that before you put that person in that role, because if not, you're going to have a mess to pick up, right? Yes. So a lot of it is building a culture of, like you said, asking for help, right? Yeah. You can do it on your own. I'm fine with you doing it on your own, but why don't you bring it to me and let's see if this is going to work out for all of us. If we're all going to be in this together, let's work together before we throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. We're not going to do that with our group. So a lot of it is testing to see how do they react in a certain situation, and do they come for help? Do they ask for help? Even if they can solve it themselves, do they share the information?
Yeah.
because I've had leaders that they'll just solve the problem the wrong way and I won't know about it. And all of a sudden I'm in a mess that I didn't realize I was going to get myself in. And they didn't come to me. It's a new situation. They didn't get the answer from me,
Yeah.
but they chose wrong. And so trying to make sure that open line of communication is there is really important. I'm that way. I'll give you an example. I had an awful thing happen. We have a job that's completed, right? And in home services, you've got to have some leverage, right? And if you don't, well, maybe they won't pay you, right? And so a lot of people go broke in home services because they don't know how to handle their money. And we're very good at it. I handle millions of dollars, every month. And so we're very good at making sure the money's coming in before the money goes out, or it's coming in right after it goes out. Well, in this situation, one of my guys, and unfortunately, he's going through some difficult times. He's a good guy, making bad decisions, and the oversight wasn't there in this situation. Somebody should have seen this. Well, we've got a job that was sold, great job, $175,000. We're finished with the job, and we have no money. And now we're begging for the money. We're supposed to get it today, hopefully, but this has been months, and nobody told me about it, and we didn't see it. So I've got $175,000 worth of scare right now today going, this is our only important thing today that gets done. So that's what we're doing. I've got 4 people now working on this, trying to get this solved today. But with that being said, this is a big problem that we're now putting in. I literally just wrote out how we're going to handle this because it's never happened like this before. It'll never happen again. But
which is really business, right? Business is just, I tell people all the time that it's controlled failure, right? You put together the big system and you don't know exactly all the parts and the pieces, but you kind of build it on the way up, which is when you get a consultant, I tell people all the time, do the due diligence, right? Do the due diligence. If I'm going to go into the roofing business, you're my first call. You know what I mean? You're my first call. Why? Because you know all of these things that I can jump over those things. You jumped from 15 to 55 million because of the stuff I knew, right? You do the same thing in your own business and you can, because you can help people jump over that. And I just want to make sure that people that are watching, it's not the failure, right? He's talking about a $175,000 problem that he has today. It's not the failure. It's the breaking down of what happened and what broke down in that methodology. Yeah. Because the people that are following, and watching this show ultimately one day want to exit, whatever that looks like. Right. And in order to exit, what you have to do is produce a machine that produces predictable revenue, right? And has a team put in place and has clean financials, and to see your exit plan so that they can buy it, know that the money they're going to put into it is going to be relatively safe so that they can make a return on that investment. And this example you just gave us is exactly where it's part of the process in the build phase to make sure that all of those things become predictable. Hi, my name is Jason Sisneros, founder and chairman of Built to Exit, a world-class business consulting firm that's helped hundreds of clients and thousands of business owners fix, scale, and successfully master their companies. Let me ask you a question. Are you serious about changing the direction of your business, but you don't have the funds to bring in a high-level consulting team? Well, then keep watching. We created the Built to Exit system specifically for entrepreneurs like you. Whether you're a startup trying to avoid costly mistakes or a seasoned owner stuck in a plateau or a downturn, this do-it-yourself system is your answer. Now, this course isn't easy. It's not a gimmick. It's not sugar-coated motivational feel-good fest if you know me at all. It's a graduate level masterclass built from decades of business ownership, consulting, and real-world results. If you're willing to do the work and follow the blueprint we use with companies that pay us 5 and 6 figures, you will finally have a system that gives you time freedom, financial control, and a clear path to a successful exit. So if you're serious about building a business that works with or without you, go to www.b2xsystem.com right now, because everybody exits. The only question is how.
I will say that, part of the issue is the breakdown with your team in realizing what's important. It's important to produce, revenue. That's important, right? Production is so important. And we push so hard for production. I've always pushed so hard. But if you're not looking over your money coming in, you'll be out of business, right? So production's really important, and getting that motion for production. And there's so much that goes into production, but on the back end, if you don't see the money going in and out, and you don't see how it comes in, or what stops it from not coming in, or what stops, if you don't see the problems that can cause that money to stop, you're going to be in a, so it's a lot of things. And I think the big thing is once you have a problem, addressing it, accepting it. It's not something that's an anomaly. It happened. And a lot of people say, oh, that'll never happen again. Well, it will if you don't put a process in place. And I don't like a lot of, little intricate process. It's like, okay, this happened. How do we not have it happen again? And how do we not change our culture? How do we not change the fundamentals of how we're doing things? How do we not add more work to our system? How do we just make it flow and this won't get missed? And so today, I just spent a good hour picking out the details that are missing, and then having conversations with people and telling them, this is what we're getting ready to do. What's your feedback? And then getting information from them about what they think about what just happened, so I can implement a better system. So it's not avoiding it like it's a problem that'll never happen again. It's going to happen again and again and again until you fix it. But the reality is for me, I enjoy the problems. I do. I don't like problems like this where, 175,000 isn't in our hands right now, and it's been missing for months, and someone just realized it. Those are all big problems because we're dealing with millions of dollars. You can't miss $175,000.
No, that's a big chunk. So
I will say this though too.
Go ahead.
One of the big things is not being stressed about the problem, and not being stressed about money, and not being stressed about, look, you're going to have your roller coaster. And what I learned about my father is you get so focused on the negative, and the negative comes and it takes everything away. So I've had to learn over time. I've had some very difficult times where I've lost big time as well. And the stress ate me alive. I would focus only on the problem and about how I was going to solve that problem and nothing else. And I think that's part of it too, in the maturity that you run into with business. You're going to have multiple problems happen all the time. If you have good systems in place, you fix those problems, and then new ones come because you're growing. We're scaling. I keep scaling, and the bigger I get, the harder it is to see everything. And so having these big problems like this, I mean, it would have been one thing to have a $25,000 problem 10 years ago. Now having 170, that's a good thing to have those. They're bigger problems.
Yeah, we call them higher quality problems.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about the industry. Okay. We've got a lot of people that own roofing companies that I go and speak to or watching the show. What do you see coming in the future? And what can they do to best position their company to succeed in the coming years?
Well, I think that look, I don't think anything's changing. And I mean, that might sound stupid and crazy because the world is changing so aggressively, but I don't think it's changing in the way that everybody thinks it is. I think it's going to get easier, as it always has. I mean, when I started in this business, it was really hard. And I was making numbers that no one had ever seen before. Now we're doing extremely well, and it's gotten super easy, but it's still hard. It's a really hard business. You're selling every day. So if you don't like sales, it's a hard business. But what's coming, I think, my thought is, look, you look at other industries that have been pulverized by big money, right? They've destroyed them.
Yeah.
When I deal with homeowners and when I deal with commercial properties and owners of they're people, and they're good people, and that's their investment. And I got to care about the outcome that I give them. And, you know, a lot of people are racing to the bottom, trying to get the bottom dollars. And we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
My guys, we don't talk about, let's go to the quickest buck that we can get. No, the reason why we make a decent amount of money doing what we do is because it's not easy. We've got great talent doing the jobs that are very hard to put up. And we've got homeowners that are so happy with the customer service that we give, that nobody gives like us, that we haven't gotten cheap. Our guys aren't cheap. They don't do stuff cheaply. We don't do anything cheaply. Even getting together with my guys, you know, I'll spend more money than I should celebrating their wins.
I think there's something really, really wise about what you said, because we talk about the fundamentals, right? It's once you get the fundamentals down correctly, it doesn't matter up, down market, you know, there's fluctuations, and there's the one constant in business is change. And so when we're looking at, you know, at what is coming in the future, getting those fundamentals, I joke about it all the time. I love that we live in a day and age when customer service is a new idea, right? And you got big PE firms that are coming in and they buy them and they lose what you just said. Like you're saying exactly what needs to be said because you're the one in that position that cares. You know, the business owner, or you know, the person who's closest to the business owner, and you culturally get that. PE comes in, the good PE firms they do what's called post-sale integration, which means that they go in and they learn the reasons behind the success of the business as it sits. A lot of other PE firms are coming in going, well, we're just going to come in, we're going to hack and slash, we're going to cut people's wages, we're going to, you know, we're going to do this and that and the other, not knowing that they're cutting out the heart and soul, the beating heart of the business, which was the culture. And culture is not an accident. A culture can be crafted, you know, on purpose, and have process and procedure and accountability and all of those other kind of things, but they miss that. So I see a bunch more people getting out of the practice because those businesses are failing, right? People that are
and in the beginning when we got together, and the reason why I chose to work with you as well is because of the questions that you asked and how much you cared about my answers, instead of just going, I got a solution. And I think we're back to that.
Yeah.
You have to care about what you do. And, you know, if you've got a lot of money to throw at something, that's not care, that's just money. And so I've seen it. I've seen companies really decimate under the pressure of money. You know,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to put up a billboard and we're going to put nice flashy cars out there. We're going to do this. Man, that's not what people are buying.
No.
They're buying your heart. If you don't care, if you can't find people that care, you're wasting your money.
Yep.
And so if I was to say one thing, I really love what I do. I love my people. And I don't say this lightly. I love going to work every day and changing people's lives and seeing people go from rags to riches, and seeing them have a difficult time and struggle through problems and struggle through income issues, even because they got to come out the other side or they're going to quit. And I'm telling you, my father, when he quit, I saw a really great salesman who wasn't a good business owner, and everything fell apart right in the middle. His success was on the other side of the failure. And he quit, and I saw that, and I was like, man, why aren't you going back at it? And he's like, oh, I'm done. And it hits you. You go, wait a second. It's not about making money. It's about finishing what you started and going at it with your heart and caring about what you do. And if I don't care anymore, I'll quit. I don't do things because I don't believe in them. I love the business that I'm in because I get to touch so many people in so many different ways, in business and in personal. I've had people, we've sat down, I'll say this, I got back from a Tony Robbins event years ago, and I was sitting with this woman. I was going to sign a $60,000 contract. She had actually been referred by a friend of hers. I loved this person, was great. She was awesome. Her husband is like this genius doctor guy. And we hadn't met. I met the wife, and she had 3 other people look at her property, and her friend told her to call me. And I came over, and we had a 30-minute conversation before we went on and started talking about the river. She goes, "Now I see why my friend told me to call you." So I meet with this person, and we sit down to sign a contract for a decent amount of money. And we started talking about her mother that just passed, and that her mother died because of chemotherapy, she said, instead of cancer. She said, she goes, and I'm really having a hard time with what my husband does because their mother passed. And so we had I just got back from a Tony Robbins about talking about that, the last day where they talk about the health and all this. And we said we were
Yep.
going into this. Yep. And the funny thing is there was no way for us to finish signing the contract because we got into talking because she had to go pick up her kids. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just do this again. I guess now I got to sit down with your husband because this is weird that we just had this long conversation, didn't sign a contract. This is weird. And then I met with her husband, and it was a beautiful conversation. I spent 2 hours with her husband having a conversation. Before we signed the contract, we were just hanging out, talking about him almost burning down his farm because he lit it on fire. He bought a ranch just like I have, and I was like, this is what I want. And he's like, well, until you burn it almost down, and then the fire department comes out. We had this great conversation. And the reason why I'm saying this is I didn't care about the contract. This contract was done. It was done before I got in the door. It was done before I even went and looked at the property. It was done because I really care about people, and they know that. And they know I'm going to take care of them because I care about them. I'm not going to let them down. And so I always tell people, trust to me is a 4-letter word. And because I've been taken advantage of a lot in life by trusting people. And so I don't trust, I tell people, don't trust me, hold me accountable. And I love that answer. And I tell my people the same thing. I don't want you to trust me. I want you to hold me accountable. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. If you say you're going to do something and you do not do it, then you're not trustworthy and you don't belong here. And that's a culture that you have to build, because when you're dealing with people and their homes and their valuable possessions and all that, if you don't have trustworthy people, you've got a dead business. And so I love what we do. We have so much trust instilled to us, and we could screw up and not do the right thing, but even our mistakes we honor. Even when we screw up, even if it's years past when we did it. I've had those where I'm having to go, gosh, I can't believe we did this, but here you go, I'm fixing it. And they're blown away. And then they talk about us with other people, about how amazing we are. And it's almost like a game. It's like, how did I get this lucky? I got this problem, and this person was telling 3 other people that I'm amazing.
Well, and then, everybody's so concerned and worried about AI these days, right? And forget about AI for just a second. Let's just use the word technology, okay? Because it's been advancing at a rapid pace since you and I have been alive. And there's always oh, it's going to end this, and oh, it's going to end this, and oh, it's going to end this. And it's what you just articulated, because like literally tears are coming to your eyes because you can reflect on the relationship. Most people use technology to push themselves further away from the customer instead of using technology as an ally to outserve your competition with technology. Right. And there's that subtle mind shift where you go, you can't replace, like, a computer. AI is never going to shed a tear because of the relationship or the conversation that they had with you while you're closing a deal. Right. And when you look at roofing, what an analogy, right? You're putting a roof over somebody's head. Like, how much more trust should there, again, to your point, I understand what you said about trust, because at the end of the day, we don't want people to trust us. What we want them to do is hold us accountable. And just like you said, there was a number that you started at and a number that you grew to. And that's the proof that we care. That's the proof that we're competent. And you have lots of people that you've put roofs over their head, and people that you've taken care of. And that's the reputation that goes ahead and falls into the ears of someone who hears your reputation, or it hits their eyeballs because it's online and being verified in social media. Right. So I would say technology should draw you closer to your customer, not push you further away.
I think it's important. I mean, look, it's are there advancements? Of course. I mean, do you have to get them? Of course. You have to get on board technology advancements. You got to look at it. But someone showed me the bell curve a while ago, and I thought it was so important that a really important person. He sold his company for like $1 billion. I sat down with him. We were talking about some ideas and things, and I was coming up with a new process and something I really got excited about. And he said, Jarod, let me show you this. And he showed me the bell curve and how long it would take to get to inception. And he said, by then, it's changed tenfold over and over. And he sold this company for $1 billion. So here's the guy who said, everybody thinks it happens overnight. And he goes, my company took me 18 years to get there. And he goes, I should have died several times. He goes, but I just love my company. And so I'm saying this again because I think it's important. If you love what you do, the technology is going to come to you to advance your purpose in this world. Like, I don't think it's by chance that I got stuck in this business. I didn't think this was the business I'd ever get into, but this got me closer to doing more for more people that really needed it, and use my skills that I was given, that I loved. I'm just going in the same direction. If you don't love people, this is a really bad business for you to be in. You're going to take advantage of people in the wrong way. You're not going to serve them the way that they need to be served. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to get on board technology. If you love what you do, you've got to be aware, okay, this is something new that I've got to implement. We've implemented so many things differently than most companies when bad things happened. And it's our experience. We've had, I mean, COVID happened, a lot of stuff happened. We've grown exponentially from downturns. Because we just love what we do, and we love our people, and we're like, we're not going to let them suffer. I remember, even COVID, when that happened, I could have quit for several years. I was financially stable. I had no problems. But when you love the people that you work with and work for, you find ways to use the technology to advance your purpose. And I think that's really important. I think everybody's looking at AI and going, it's going to take a job, it's going to do this. Yeah, it's going to. I mean, there's no way to say that it's not going to do that. It's advancing bigger companies to get bigger, though. If you've got a good company and got a good purposeful company and you've got good culture in your company, then you shouldn't be looking for how do I get it done cheaper, even though that's going to be needed. How do I make it more efficient? You're doing that anyways. You're looking for those things, but that's not cutting off your people. That's a company that's going to die sooner or later anyways, that is just looking for every way to cut out their people. I think I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of finding ways to make it more efficient so that people can have better lives, spend more time with their families, and make a good living. I mean, if my people are spending less time at work because they don't have to, we do it now. We delegate so many responsibilities out to other people that can do jobs that I used to do a lot of that, and then I delegated. Once I learned how to delegate a lot of the chores that I didn't want to do, I started doing what I did better because I could focus on what I do really well, and then somebody else has a job to do what they're doing well. And so I don't see it being that we're going to lose our jobs. I think that we're going to have a more efficient company, and more efficiencies are going to happen. And you're going to see the growth happen. I mean, everybody's, thinks that it's going to go away. Those are the companies that will go away. They're going to die anyways. They don't love their business. They don't love their people. They're dying anyways. And if they're dying, they're in it for the wrong reason. Maybe they need to go find something else. I saw my father. I'll go back to my father.
Let me ask you about your father. This is a question I have for you, because I want to wrap this up really powerfully. And this question hit me about 4 minutes into our conversation. What I want you to do as we wrap up the show is what is the piece of advice or pieces, I don't care how long it takes or how many of them there are, if you had a chance to go meet your 25-year-old father and give him some advice, what would you say to him?
Man, that's a good one, huh? Never thought of that. I'll see this, that at 25, uh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning. I learned, looked for people to mentor me. I would say my father gave me a gift showing me not to quit. So I would say that my father showed me what it looks like when you quit. And so I think that if I got so blessed to have that, I'm grateful. I'm not upset over the fact that it went the way it went, because I got the benefits of seeing what it looks like when you quit. I think that's with everything. I think that's with relationships. I think that's with business. I think it's with friendships. I think it's with everything. If you quit on somebody or something or some business, it falls apart. And so I think, one of the things I really believe is that in the middle, everything looks like failure, right? So in the middle, it looks like you're a mess. And it's going to look like that because you've got to grow. And so my father, what I learned from him is he was needing to grow so long, and he avoided it so hard. He pushed back so hard from growth and so hard from change and so hard from what we have now, AI and stuff like that. I'm going to push against it. It's not real. No, it's real. You need to grow. You need to change. You need to become somebody more and better. And if you don't, you will be dead on the road. And we went homeless. I was homeless with my family for a short period of time. And I can say that if he had just kept going, it probably wouldn't have ended up. It probably would have gotten harder. And I've seen that in business. It gets harder. It doesn't get easier right away. Just because you don't quit doesn't mean it's going to go away. Yeah. It's going to be there, and you got to face it, and you got to be honest with it. You have to go, hey, this is real. It's not fake. But, quitting is a bad idea. But again, here's the thing. You got to love what you do. You got to love your people. You got to love it. If you don't, you're in the wrong place. So, some things I guess are good to quit. If you're in the wrong place, going the wrong way. What is that line that I've got? I've got an email. On my email, I put something that I heard from Charlie Kirk. And it was like going fast. If you're going fast, it's great unless you're going in the wrong direction, right?
Right. Yeah, Keith Cunningham says it all the time. Jason, you might be running really hard in the wrong direction, brother.
I love it because I ran really fast.
I love it.
And I realized, wait a second, this is the wrong place. So I will say that you just, though, unless you're going the wrong direction, if you're in the wrong company, in the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, you'll know it. You'll feel it. Your gut tells you. But if you're doing the right thing and you feel it, keep going. You'll get the answers you're looking for.
100%. Well, thank you, brother. I really appreciate your time. I know this is going to be super valuable. Neither one of us, this is what I like. I never prepare for the conversation. I never prepare for it because I know what's supposed to come out will come out. And I know questions that I'm interested about, and I know that you've got some unbelievable things. And it really, getting down to the structure, and this is for everybody that's watching, is there are structurally things that you can do correctly to build a great company. It's the unsaid that you just heard from Jarod, right? The unsaid, the untalked about, the things that you hear in your head when it's late at night, right? The failures where it looks like everything in front of you is falling apart, and it might be falling apart, and it's insurmountable. It's that spirit of who we are as a business owner, that don't quit, that Jarod just delivered to you in such a beautiful way, that don't quit, because that creates a habit of quitting. And you want to get in the habit of not quitting. And you want to get into the habit of pushing through and pushing over those walls. This isn't easy. Nobody promised it for it to be easy. And if it was easy, more people would be doing it, and they're not. There's 33 million of us that are crazy enough in this country to call ourselves small and mid-sized business owners, right? And the failure rate has never reduced. It's 90+%, but we still manage to produce $17 trillion of our GDP. We still manage to do 60% of the hiring and be 90% of the jobs. This is our people, and we need to hear these things and understand them. Make AI your friend, and make you stronger at delivering on the promise of your product and or service, and you're never going to have anything to worry about. There's going to be ups and downs. There's structure, there's conversations, there's sequencing, there's how you use your finances. A lot of great advice out there for you to be successful, but don't quit, and make sure you're constantly getting better at what you do. Jarod, you got any parting shots for us? Because I really appreciate you being here today, buddy.
Yeah, I'll just say I really greatly appreciate. It's funny how people get placed in your life at times that you need them, and so if you're looking, you always find. When I met you, I greatly appreciate the conversation we had. It wasn't expected that we were going to work together, but then working with you, I knew it was right. It didn't take me long to make a decision to work with you because of the fact that you were so interested in knowing more about me and my problems than just giving me a solution. I know I've said this a couple of times, but your team did the same thing. You came in and I could tell you cared about the outcome, even though I was pushing back and wanting to go a different direction. You heard that I really did love what I did, what I was doing, and I was looking at something else, and I was getting myself confused as to which direction I want to go. And then we focused on what would make me become more successful, and it really worked. But it was all the questions that you asked and the delivery in which your people gave me that really gave me the right way of going. I came away from that, and it was like a tidal wave of information, but it took a year to implement.
Yeah.
All the little things that we put in place, it wasn't overnight success. We had already had a great year. The next year we had, by the way, we did 18.5 million, 18.5 million, and not to keep going, but the next year we did 20, 22, and it was funny, at the end of the year that we did 18.5 million, you'd think I would be jumping up and down. I was actually sitting in a park mad because we didn't focus on something that was really important that we went over, and I hadn't implemented a strategy on that. And I knew that I knew I had served myself a little less success than I should have had that year. So it's really cool how it takes time to see what you're doing, and you guys gave me a lot of information, but it was the implementation and really taking the time to see the results over long periods of time. So it's been very successful. I really appreciate your help and your team's help. It was amazing.
That's awesome. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much again for being here, spending time with me. I can't wait to come out and spend time with you at the ranch and, grab us a tequila or something. We'll be breaking bread together again soon. God bless you, your family. Thanks for being my friend. Thank you for how you show up in the world and continue to change people's lives, buddy.
Yeah, thank you too. See you, Jason.
Brother. Bye.